let's go to South Africa, where that country has avoided a recession, unlike the Eurozone, where we see that the Eurozone is now in recession. And this is in the first quarter. That's where South Africa is back above pre-pandemic levels following the growth of most sectors. Gross domestic products expanded 0.4% in the first 3 months of this year after contracting in the previous quarter. That's according to Statistics South Africa. We have expanding this for us, Matt Kindiger, practice leader, Sub-Saharan Africa Front of View, joins us from London. Hi, Matt. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on the program today.
Yeah, so do you expect that the government will adjust its spending and tax plans over the coming year to stabilize public financing, with this escape of the recession that has been recorded?
Yeah, so what we would expect is that the government will probably continue its current plan at the moment, which was set out in the February budget speech. So the fact that the economy grew very slightly in the first quarter of the year does mean that the current plan to avoid tax increases, so delay tax increases and minimize spending cuts, will probably continue right until the end of this year, until the next midterm budget speech. But I would say it all depends on how public finances progress over the next few months. So what we have seen in South Africa is interest rates increase quite significantly over the last few months. We are expecting the South African Reserve Bank to continue raising interest rates. This will increase the cost of credit and debt servicing for the government in South Africa. And we are also expecting to see the economy slow over the winter. So although the economy avoided a recession in Q1, there's likely to be weaker growth over the course of this year, and this will affect tax revenue, and it will require the government to spend a bit more. So this all means that the government is likely to face greater fiscal pressure towards the end of 2023 and into 2024, and we could see for the first time in many years, some significant tax increases and some more significant spending cuts. But it is complicated by the fact that there is an election next year, and the government won't want to raise taxes too much or cut spending too dramatically to avoid the political costs associated with that.
Yeah, talk about political consideration there. But a lot of people, Matt, would say that, it's even a miracle that South Africa has escaped recession, because with the power outages and the impact it's had on economic activities, you would have expected. But how do we see this affecting the growth outlook of South Africa?
Yeah, so it is a very positive sign that the economy avoided recession. We were monitoring this very carefully and very closely. There was a higher or increasing chance that the South African economy was going to contract in the first quarter of this year, and it's good that it didn't. And this does kind of illustrate the resilience of certain industries in the economy, especially in services. So services, financial services, ICT, for example, doing very well in the country, transport also doing very well. So certainly there are a number of industries keeping the economy afloat. We also have seen South Africa's economy benefit from relatively high commodity prices for the commodities that it exports, like iron ore and coal. In terms of the growth outlook, I would say, unfortunately, it is a bit more uncertain. We are expecting the economy to struggle to grow overall. So we are expecting to see growth slow towards the end of this year. And if we do see worsening load shedding, we are likely to see the economy fall into a short recession, especially, maybe the end of Q2 when the data comes out, or Q3, or maybe even early Q4. It's unlikely to be a deep recession, but certainly the economy faces real risk of contracting this year. We're currently forecasting growth of 0.6%, but we are likely to downgrade it over the next 3 to 6 months or so. So more or less stagnation for this year, a slightly more upbeat view for 2024.
All right, looking at the Rand, I know that the Rand received some bash, especially when the BRICS foreign ministers met in South Africa. We saw it drop to a record low. But so where are we seeing it get? What position do you see it getting in the coming months?
Yeah, so the Rand did reach a record low over the last couple of weeks, as you said. It has now retreated from those record lows, so it's made up a bit of value against the dollar over the last week or so. But our view is that we would expect the Rand to reach new record lows at least over the next 6 months or at some point. So we are expecting it to reach over 20 per dollar, probably within the next few months. And then there will likely be a period where it exceeds 22, maybe even 23 per dollar before the end of this year. Having said all of this, it does depend very significantly on a number of factors that could pull the rand in either direction. So the rand's value is very sensitive to global growth. So if we see a quicker than expected economic recovery globally, investors towards emerging markets, including South Africa, will invest a bit more in South Africa, and we are expecting the rand to benefit. Having said that, the rand is also incredibly susceptible to political developments, both domestically and globally. So if we see South Africa's relationship with Russia getting a bit closer, then the rand is likely to lose a bit more value. And finally, if we see load shedding get a lot worse in South Africa, especially during the winter, we could also see sentiment turn against the rand. So the takeaway really is a bit more depreciation of the rand. We could see new record lows before the end of this year, but there will be periods also of appreciation, especially as the South African Reserve Bank is likely to intervene and raise interest rates to try to stabilize the rand. So a bit of up and down for the foreseeable future.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for that insight into the economic growth of South Africa. Matt Kiniga, practice leader, Sub-Saharan Africa, for Front of You.
Thanks very much.